Senior woman, listen to me for a moment. There are 5 brutal truths about having a boyfriend after 60 that most people will never say out loud. I'm going to say them. And if you stay with me to the end, you will understand one thing very clearly. You are not too picky, you are not too old, and you are definitely not difficult. You are finally seeing what most women only realize when it's already too late. By the time we get to the 5th reason, I'm going to show you the hidden psychological trap that makes so many senior women stay in relationships that drain them, and how to avoid it completely. Once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. I'm speaking to you as a man and as a therapist who has sat across from hundreds of women your age, widows, divorced, never married, who whispered the same sentence in my office. If I had known this earlier, I would never have let him back into my life. You are not here to be anyone's nurse, anyone's purse, or anyone's emotional dumping ground. So let's talk about why, as a senior woman over 60, you may be far better off never having a boyfriend again. And pay close attention to the 3rd and 4th reasons. Those are the ones that usually make my clients go silent and then completely change the way they look at men. First, I want to set something straight. I am not against love. I am not against companionship. What I am against is you sacrificing your peace, your health, and your dignity just to say, I have a man. There is a difference between a partner and a project, between a relationship and a responsibility. Let's start with the first brutal truth. Reason 1. The boyfriend role keeps you emotionally small. At your age, the word boyfriend often doesn't fit who you truly are anymore. It sounds light, playful, almost teenage. But your heart has lived through wars, divorce, widowhood, betrayal, illness, caregiving, raising children, losing people you love. The problem is this. The title boyfriend usually comes with teenage rules. And those rules keep you emotionally small. I once worked with a woman in her late 60s. Let's call her Margaret. She had a boyfriend who insisted on being called that. He refused words like partner or companion because they made him feel old. On the surface, this sounded harmless, but over time, I saw the pattern. He wanted the benefits of a committed woman, her loyalty, her emotional support, her cooking, her presence, without ever stepping into the emotional responsibility of a true partner. Whenever she asked for clarity about the future, he would say, "Why ruin a good thing? Let's just enjoy what we have." That was his way of staying a boyfriend forever. No growth, no depth, no real accountability. Margaret shrank herself to fit his comfort. She stopped bringing up her fears about aging, her worries about money, her desire for spiritual connection. She told me, "He doesn't like heavy conversations. If I talk about those things, he says I'm depressing." Here is the brutal truth. Many men want the light version of you, not the full, deep woman you have become. And the boyfriend label allows them to keep it that way. Ask yourself, in your last relationship, did you feel you could bring your whole self, your grief, your wisdom, your fears? Or did you feel like you had to be fun, easy, and low maintenance just to keep him? Stay with me, because the next reason goes deeper into something very practical and very dangerous for senior women, your safety and your stability. Reason 2. Your energy, health, and safety are too precious now. After 60, your energy is no longer cheap. Every choice you make has a cost. A boyfriend at this stage of life can very easily become a full-time emotional job with no salary, no gratitude, and no retirement plan. Think about this carefully. For many of the women I work with, the relationship starts off feeling like a blessing, someone to talk to, laugh with, maybe go out with. But slowly, almost quietly, the balance shifts. A client of mine, we'll call her Elena, met a man in his 70s. At first, he seemed charming. They spent hours on the phone. He said she saved him from loneliness. Slowly, she became his emotional nurse. He would call her in the middle of the night because he couldn't sleep. He would complain about his ex-wife, his adult children, his health, his regrets. I asked her one question. When you hang up the phone with him, do you feel lighter or heavier? She paused, and then she cried. Always heavier, she said. But I feel cruel if I don't pick up. What if something happens to him? That is how it works. Your natural empathy becomes a chain around your own neck. And this is not just emotional, there is also physical safety. Meeting new men, often through online platforms, often in unfamiliar places, creates real risk at a time when your body is more vulnerable and your recovery is slower. You have worked decades to reach a place where your life is finally yours. So ask yourself honestly, does having a boyfriend now bring more safety or more anxiety? More peace or more pressure? In a moment, I'm going to talk about the third reason, which is more subtle but incredibly powerful. How having a boyfriend at this age can actually stop your emotional and spiritual growth. This is the one almost no one talks about, but it affects everything. Reason 3, a boyfriend can freeze your growth at the level of his comfort. By the time you are over 60, you are not just older, you are ripening. Many women at this stage finally begin to explore who they are beyond wife, mother, or caregiver. You may start reading more about spirituality, psychology, healing. You may feel called to travel, to learn, to create. Your soul is stretching and expanding. But here is where many senior relationships break. Your expansion threatens his comfort. I remember a woman who came to me after leaving a long marriage. She finally felt free. She joined a book club, started therapy, and began exploring her childhood wounds, her patterns, her dreams. She met a man who liked her very much, until she started changing. At first, he praised her growth, but as she became more self-aware, more grounded, and more honest about what she needed, he grew irritated. He would say things like, "You used to be so easygoing," or "You're overthinking everything now." He did not want her growth, he wanted her familiarity. Your journey after 60 is often about integration, bringing together all the parts of you that you had to hide or ignore in earlier years just to survive. But when you take on a boyfriend, especially one who is emotionally underdeveloped, you unconsciously start editing yourself again. You stop sharing what you are learning because it causes arguments. You stop attending the events you enjoy because it makes him feel left out. You stop exploring new aspects of yourself because you feel guilty leaving him behind. So you freeze at the level of his comfort. This is one of the quiet tragedies I see in my office. Women who were on the edge of profound transformation, but they chose a man instead of themselves. The question you must ask is this: if I never had a boyfriend again, how much could I grow? What parts of me would finally have space to breathe? Stay with me, because the fourth reason is more practical, but it sits on top of all of this: your money, your time, and the very structure of your daily life. Reason 4, the cost is higher than you think, financially and emotionally. By 60 and beyond, you have already paid a high emotional price through life: children, marriages, work, caregiving. You understand that nothing is truly free. Here is the hard truth: many senior women underestimate the cost of having a boyfriend. The cost shows up in small ways first. You spend money on outings, gifts, phone calls, data, rides. You adjust your schedule around his. You stay up later than is healthy for you because he wants to talk. You eat at times that disrupt your routines. You travel when your body really needs rest. Then there are the bigger risks: moving him into your home temporarily, putting his name on things for convenience, paying more and more of the bills because his finances are complicated. Some women have told me, he moved in just while he was looking for a place, and 5 years later he's still here, paying for nothing, but I feel bad kicking him out. You did not spend decades building your life, your home, and your stability just to subsidize a man's comfort. And it's not only about money, It's about emotional budgeting. You only have so much emotional energy each day. Sharing your inner world with someone who cannot meet you emotionally is expensive. You wake up tired, not from age, but from emotional overwork. Your peace of mind is your greatest currency now. Everything you allow into your life should protect it, not drain it. In a moment, we are going to talk about the fifth reason. This is the deepest one. It has nothing to do with money or schedules and everything to do with your soul. This is the psychological trap that keeps women in painful relationships far longer than they should stay. If you understand this, you will see very clearly why never having a boyfriend might actually be the most loving thing you ever do for yourself. Reason 5. You deserve sacred love, not leftover attention. Here is the brutal truth that many of my male clients will never admit publicly. Some men seek senior women not because they value their wisdom, but because they assume you will tolerate more and demand less. They believe you are afraid of being alone. They count on that fear. They rely on the story that says, at your age, you should be grateful anyone wants you. Let me say this clearly, as a man and as a therapist. That story is a lie. If you accept a boyfriend out of fear of loneliness, you are training your brain to believe that your own company is not enough. You are telling your nervous system that you are incomplete without male attention. And then every time he disappoints you, but you stay, you deepen the wound. This is the trap. You confuse occasional comfort with real companionship. You trade your deep need for being seen, understood, and cherished for small crumbs of attention. A call here, a visit there, a compliment when he needs something from you. I remember a woman who stayed with a man for years, even though he repeatedly told her, "I am not committing to anything serious." She kept hoping he would change. She said, "He doesn't treat me the way I truly want, but I'm scared that if I leave, I'll never have anyone again." Eventually, I asked her a direct question. What if your life's purpose in this season is not to be chosen by a man, but to finally choose yourself? She went silent. Then she said, "No one has ever said that to me." You deserve a love that meets you at the level of your soul, not a man who half shows up because he's bored, lonely, or needs a caretaker. And here is the most important point. When you decide you will never again accept the role of boyfriend's emotional mother, boyfriend's bank account, or boyfriend's therapist, you free your heart for something far better. Whether that is deep, sacred friendship, a community of women, spiritual connection, or, in rare cases, a truly mature partner. The real question is not, should I have a boyfriend after 60? The real question is, what is the highest, healthiest form of love that fits the woman I have become? If the answer is a calm, peaceful, self-directed life with no romantic partner, that is not a failure, that is wisdom. If one day a man enters your life who adds peace instead of chaos, who respects your boundaries, supports your growth, and does not require you to mother him, then you can choose from a place of strength, not fear. But until that happens, you are allowed to say no. You are allowed to never have a boyfriend again. You are allowed to protect your heart like the sacred thing it truly is. Let's bring this together. You now know the 5 brutal reasons. The boyfriend role often keeps you emotionally small. Your energy, health, and safety are too precious to gamble. A boyfriend can freeze your growth at the level of his comfort. The financial and emotional cost is higher than you think. And most importantly, you deserve sacred love, not leftover attention born from your fear of being alone. Here is what I want you to do after this. Sit quietly with yourself and ask, if I loved myself the way I wish a man would love me, what would I stop tolerating today? Would you stop taking certain phone calls? Would you stop waiting for a text? Would you stop making excuses for a man who shows you repeatedly that you are not his priority? You are not on this earth now just to fill a man's empty hours. You are here to live the most honest, peaceful, and authentic chapter of your life. You have given enough. You have sacrificed enough. From this point forward, let any man who comes into your life be a bonus, not a lifeline. And if no man comes, you are still whole. You are still worthy. You are still deeply, profoundly lovable, without ever having a boyfriend again.